In 2009, 2,914 people escaped from North Korea, but by 2022, that figure had plummeted to just 67. Today, North Korea has made it nearly impossible to escape unless you use the last remaining method. Take a look at this graph, you can see that. Thousands of North Koreans used to escape to South Korea every year. But in 2011, everything changed. The country's former leader, Kim Jong-il, passed away, and his son, Kim Jong-un, came to power. Kim Jong-un made it his #1 priority to crack down on escapes using extreme methods never seen before. Signal jammers were installed all across the northern border, blocking all foreign cell and satellite signals. This prevented not only escapes into China but also the smuggling of contraband across the Chinese border. Phone call monitoring stations were also set up, making it difficult for Chinese people smugglers to help people escape. The number of watchtowers increased. These towers are manned by soldiers armed with machine guns, ordered to shoot on sight anyone attempting to flee. Surveillance cameras and sensors were added. Concrete barriers and spiked fences now prevent people from escaping. Motion-detecting floodlights were also installed to stop escape attempts at night. Most of the border is now equipped with electric fences and, controversially, landmines, which break international law. Fake defectors also loiter near the border. These are North Korean agents posing as escapees. Some lure genuine defectors into fake safe houses before handing them over to the authorities. North Korea has also made deals with neighboring countries to ensure any escapees are sent back. For instance, their 2014 deal with Russia mandates the deportation of any North Koreans found there. A similar deal was signed with China not long after. These measures have already claimed lives. In 2023 alone, 6 people died from landmines. Others were shot while attempting to cross or succumb to the harsh mountains bordering North Korea and China. One North Korean man named Zhu managed to reach China, but he was quickly arrested by Chinese police. To avoid deportation, he escaped from prison only to be captured again. He was sent back to North Korea, where it's believed he was executed. His entire family was imprisoned as well. North Korea enforces a system called JEOG, meaning family punishment. If one person escapes, their entire family is punished. This leads to babies and elderly people being sentenced to prison camps. This system discourages escape attempts, as many are unwilling to risk their families' lives, even if they're willing to risk their own. North Korea now even has guards watching over its border guards. In the past, desperate people could bribe the guards. Since North Korea is a poor country, guards saw this as a way to earn extra money. But now, members of different departments watch the guards, and guards are rewarded for informing on each other. This lack of trust means guards are too scared to accept bribes. North Korea has also banned nighttime train and car traffic near the border and is even using drones for surveillance. Despite these overwhelming challenges, some North Koreans still attempt to escape. A single escape can take months or years to plan. Some people wander near the border pretending to gather medicinal plants while secretly memorizing minefield locations. But things got even worse in 2020. Pandemic-19 broke out in China, seriously alarming North Korean authorities. The country has almost no medical infrastructure, and 42% of the population is malnourished, weakening their immune systems. North Korea used the pandemic to justify locking down the country even further. They built hundreds of kilometers of concrete walls and barbed wire fences, sealing off routes defectors had used for decades. Since 2020, North Koreans have not been allowed to move within their own country. The nation is divided into 9 provinces, and citizens cannot leave their province without special authorization and paperwork. Traveling to another province without documents results in imprisonment, not only for the traveler but for their entire family. This has made escaping via the northern border even harder, especially for people living in the southern provinces. You might wonder, why not cross into South Korea directly? But believe it or not, crossing south is even more difficult. North and South Korea are separated by the DMZ Demilitarized Zone. Despite its name, it's one of the most militarized regions in the world. It stretches 250 kilometers long and 4 kilometers wide, guarded heavily by both North and South Korean troops. Over the years, many soldiers and civilians have died trying to cross it, most of them North Koreans seeking freedom. Dozens of watchtowers, fences, mines, and snipers line the border. But there is a silver lining, since North and South Korea Used to be one country, South Korea considers all North Koreans to be its citizens. Any North Korean who manages to cross into South Korea is granted safe refuge and support from the South Korean government. This makes South Korea an ideal destination. But getting there is nearly impossible. North Korea has 750,000 troops stationed around the DMZ, all under orders to shoot on sight. Over 2 million landmines are buried around the DMZ, making crossing almost impossible. This is why, despite the danger, most North Korean escapees still choose the northern route through China or Russia. But even if escapees reach China or Russia, their journey isn't over. These countries are allies of North Korea, meaning defectors must continue on to a safe country, one that will deport them to South Korea instead of North Korea. Safe countries include Mongolia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Cambodia, all of which refuse to return escapees to North Korea. However, reaching those countries is incredibly difficult. Escapees usually have to cross all of China, the most advanced surveillance state in the world. China has 700 million surveillance cameras, many using facial recognition, making it nearly impossible for a North Korean to travel without being caught. China has also ramped up border surveillance, installing more cameras, sensors, and guards, making it harder for smugglers to assist escapees. In 2007, smugglers charged around $2,000 to help people escape. Today, the cost has ballooned to $20,000. The average North Korean earns only $2,000 per year. It would take them years, even decades, to save that much. Most don't have relatives who have already escaped and can help financially. So, many are forced to escape on their own, without any assistance. With the southern border sealed and the northern border heavily fortified, it may seem like there's no way left to escape. But desperate people have found another path, by sea. This is the most dangerous method of all, as it involves sailing directly to South Korea. Escapees must avoid the North Korean Navy, mines near the shore, and brutal sea conditions. Even experienced fishermen often capsize in these waters. Most escapees use flimsy wooden boats and often attempt to flee during storms. While this increases risk, it also reduces the likelihood of encountering Navy patrols. Sadly, many die during sea escapes. These defectors are not trained sailors, and they lack proper boats or navigation tools. Those who disappear are often never found, leaving their families in eternal uncertainty. Remarkably, some people have escaped without a boat. One man, a fisherman, swam all the way to South Korea. Wearing a diving suit under his jacket and hiding fins in his boat, he swam for 6 hours through dangerous waters. Once he reached the South Korean coast, he hid in a drainage ditch before running 4 kilometers inland, where South Korean guards found and helped him. This was a rare case. He was trained in swimming and had access to the sea through his job. You might think it's impossible for a regular North Korean to escape. But one man, Chul Uni, found the last remaining method. Chul Uni was a high-ranking North Korean spy living in South Hwanghae province. By North Korean standards, he lived well, but he longed for freedom. One day, while surveying the land near the Yellow Sea for his job, he studied the locations of electric fences, watchtowers, and landmines, committing everything to memory. He returned to his town and tried convincing a friend to escape. At first, his friend thought he was crazy. He was just a regular citizen. But after hearing Lee's plan, he reluctantly agreed. They told no one, not even their families. On the day of the escape, Lee bought a bike tire and a pump from a local shop, gathered food, and packed his backpack. At 8:00 p.m., under the cover of darkness, they drove until the road ended and abandoned their car. They navigated tall grass filled with mines, but thanks to Lee's memory, they made it through safely. They reached the electric fence. Lee tested it and found it wasn't powered. North Korea doesn't always power the fences due to the high cost of electricity. After passing the fence, they waited for a cloud to cover the moon. In the darkness, they reached the shore. Lee planned to inflate the bike tire to use as a raft, but the pump failed. They had to make a split-second decision, leave the tire behind and swim, knowing they likely wouldn't make it. The men had to swim 4 kilometers to reach safety, but after 2 hours of perilous swimming, they realized they needed to lose some weight. So, they made a tough decision. They dumped their clothing and food into the sea. 2 more hours passed. That's when disaster struck. Lee's friend began cramping and couldn't move his legs. With no other option, Lee swam with one hand and used the other to pull his friend, and then they saw a ship looming nearby. It looked like a North Korean Navy vessel. Panic set in. Desperate to get away, they spotted a tiny island in the distance. Mustering every last ounce of strength, they swam toward it. Once on the island, they hid in fear, waiting for the ship to pass. Luckily, they found some wood and pieces of styrofoam that had washed ashore. Overnight, the two men built a makeshift raft. By morning, they set off again, this time drifting closer to the South Korean border. But just when hope was rising, another boat appeared. Their hearts sank, but this time, it wasn't a threat. It was a South Korean Navy ship. The soldiers told them they'd been tracking the men for hours. Lee and his friend were rescued and taken aboard, then questioned to ensure they weren't spies. Today, Cheolun Lee and his friend live freely and safely in South Korea after using what was likely the last possible method of escape. But while their story has a happy ending, it's a harsh reminder that over 26 million people are still trapped in North Korea, where escaping means risking everything: freedom, family, and life itself. North Korea has made escape nearly impossible. And yet, stories like Cheolun Lee's prove that with courage and a little luck, it's still possible. It's heartbreaking to know this is happening in our lifetimes. So, spare a thought for those who haven't escaped yet, and if you made it this far, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and check out the next video on screen.